Hare Krishna. So we welcome you all back to our Saturday voice meeting here at Shri Shri Radha Kunj Bihari Mandir. It's our very great fortune today. Today we have amongst us His Holiness Advait Swami Maharaj to enlighten us on the topic of from lust to love. Before proceeding for that, I would like to briefly introduce Maharaj. His Holiness Advait Swami Maharaj is an editor, publisher and teacher. He is a disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of International Society for the Krishna Consciousness. He served as an editor or assistant editor for nearly all the books of Srila Prabhupada published during Srila Prabhupada's lifetime. He received initiation from Srila Prabhupada in 1968 at the age of 19. Practically, the first task assigned to him was to staple booklets. He later went on to typing manuscripts, transcribing the Srila Prabhupada's dictation for books, and then typesetting, proofreading, managing book production and editing. He has lectured extensively at colleges and universities, especially in the United States. In 1978, he accepted the order of renounced life, that is sannyas. In 1985 and 86, he spent a year and a half traveling with a party of pilgrims on the Padayatra, a journey on the foot through various states of India, stopping in different towns or villages every night. In 1987, along with Dhanurdhar Swami and Burjan Das, he co-founded the Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education. Since 1988, he has served as a director of Srila Prabhupada's publishing house, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. From 1991 through most of 1998, he served as editor-in-chief of Back to Godhead magazine, for which he had been an assistant editor for several years. Recently, he served as editor for a 3-volume translation and commentary for Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrit, a 16th century Sanskrit philosophical and devotional work. Apart from his services in publishing, he travels widely, teaching about the philosophy and culture of Krishna consciousness. These are the countries in which he has taught: Argentina, Australia, Austria, Bahrain, Belgium, Canada, Chile, China, Colombia, Denmark, Dominican Republic, educator Fiji, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, India, Israel, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Kazakhstan, Kenya, Kuwait, Malaysia, Mauritius, Mexico, Nepal, New Zealand, the Netherlands, Oman, Panama, Peru, Philippines, Poland, Portugal, Qatar, Russia, Singapore, Slovenia, South Africa, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Thailand, Trinidad, Tobago, Turkey, Ukraine, United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom, United States and Venezuela. So it's our great fortune. Maharaj's association is very rare. He is amongst us today and we can take full advantage of his association here. Would like to welcome Maharaj in our assembly here by loudly chanting 3 times. Haribo! Haribo! Haribo!
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Is that said okay? Let's see. That's probably good. Do you need more volume? Or is that okay? In the back, is that all right? TK? No? No, a little louder? Yeah, they want it louder in the back. Hare Krishna, is that okay? Okay, good. Thank you all very much for coming. Om Jnanatimirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurin Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dathati Shapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Jata Padakamanang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrashatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhye Vacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So from lust to love, it's quite a gap from bottom to top. The Chaitanya Charitamrita says that the difference between lust and love is like the difference between iron and gold. In some ways they're similar. Iron and gold are both metals, but the value is entirely different. In the same way, lust and love may appear to be in some ways sharing some common features, but there's a vast difference. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Atmendriya Priti Vancha Tare Bali Kam. Krishnendriya Priti it's Cha Tare Premana. The desire to gratify one's own senses is calm. Yeah, we can hold the photographs, please. No more. And let's do a mobile check, please. All the mobiles can take rest. Okay. Thank you. So the desire to satisfy one's own senses is kama, or lust. And the desire to satisfy the senses of Krishna is called love. Srila Prabhupada comments. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita asserts with authority that sexual love is a matter of personal sense enjoyment. All the regulative principles in the Vedas pertaining to desires for popularity, fatherhood, wealth, and so on are different phases of sense gratification. Acts of sense gratification may be performed under the cover of public welfare, nationalism, religion, altruism, ethical codes, biblical codes, health directives, fruitive action, bashfulness, tolerance, personal comfort, liberation from material bondage, progress, family affection, or fear of social ostracism or legal punishments. But all these categories are different subdivisions of one substance, sense gratification. All such good acts are performed basically for one's own sense gratification. For no one can sacrifice his personal interest while discharging these much advertised moral and religious principles. But above all this is a transcendental stage in which one feels himself to be only an eternal servitor of Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead. All acts performed in this sense of servitude are called pure love of God, because they are performed for the absolute sense gratification of Sri Krishna. However, any act performed for the purpose of enjoying its fruits or results is an act of sense gratification. Such actions are visible sometimes in gross and sometimes in subtle forms. But usually we think of kama or lust in terms of sexual relationships. But here, Srila Prabhupada points to a more subtle aspect of lust. Because Kaviraj Goswami says anything we do for our own sense gratification is lust. So that includes not only sex, but all sorts of things which are meant for our own sense enjoyment and which we can say have a relationship with such sexual desire. The family life, the wife and children and so on, really are expansions of sex life. And I want to have a family wife for my own sense enjoyment. It's not for the welfare of the world. It's for my own personal interest. Similarly, we build bridges and tunnels and cities and skyscrapers. Why? It's for sense gratification. I'm an engineer and you pay me a good fee to build something, and the person who's hiring, contracting, please build me this, it's also for his sense gratification. And then we sell the units for some third party's sense gratification, and we build a big city in which the whole theme is sense gratification. And the cities become places where everyone is buzzing around looking for his own sense enjoyment. Not only in the bars and the brothels, but in the halls of parliament or in the halls of the philanthropic organizations. Even those who are doing philanthropic work are doing it because it makes them feel good. It's not just the welfare of the poor, distressed persons. Often, in fact, we know that in some countries, the heads of the charities receive salaries commensurate with those of the heads of big corporations. 6-digit in dollars, 6-digit salaries. Yes, for running, because it's hard to find a person to run a big charity effectively, so it's economical to hire such a person and pay him $500,000 a year. So such persons obviously are not just working for altruistic interests, but even the common worker who's in the villages or is also working in a subtle way for his own sense gratification. He's working because it makes him feel good. So we appreciate that what makes him feel good is doing something for others. But there's a subtle sense that I'm really a good guy, I'm doing this work for these poor people, and I'm not just grubbing for money, I'm doing something to improve the world. There's a sense there of false ego and a sense of an interest in one's personal satisfaction. And Srila Prabhupada gives here quite an inventory of titles or categories under which sense gratification appears. Altruism and family affection and progress and so on and so on and so on. But it finally comes down to the whole world is moving on the basis of sense gratification. What will satisfy my own senses? Hmm? And especially in romantic relationships. Because we've talked about the subtle manifestations of sense gratification, but to come down to the more primal sort of stuff, sex means self-interest, the desire to satisfy one's own senses. This is calm. The boy and the girl meet, and the boy says to her, "I love you. I just want to make you happy. I'd give the world for you." Whatever stuff that he says to charm the girl. And the girl says, "I've never met anyone like you. You're such a wonderful person." And so on and so on. So each one proposes that I just want to give happiness to you, but behind that, the real idea is that I just want you to give happiness to me. Just like in business, the business has the motto that the customer is always first. That our mission is to provide the best service to our customers. Very nice. But really his mission is to make the most profit for the company. No business is actually founded to give service to the customers. It's founded to make a profit for the owner or the shareholders. And since serving the customer is a good strategy for making my business prosperous, my customer comes almost first. Not actually first, but almost first. Because by serving the customer, I'll serve my own self-interest or the interest of the company. In a contract, the supplier says, "We just want to give you the best goods and services," and the person who's taking the goods and services says, "Yes, we just want to have the most mutually prosperous relationship." But everybody knows that finally they're in it for themselves. Because you're such a good customer, I want to do this for you, or because you're such a valued supplier, we want to give you this gift. But finally we know it's all about our own self-interest. And what goes by the name love in the material world is a similar kind of business relationship. Maybe it has a different context and different, it's expressed in different ways. But the same principle is the foundation of the relationship. That I want to make myself happy and you want to make yourself happy, so let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. That's finally what it is. And naturally each party looks for the best deal. So the man is looking for the most qualified woman, the woman is looking for the most qualified man, in terms of what will satisfy his needs, what will satisfy her needs. And then on top of that, I love you so much, I care about you, this, that, but really I love myself. Therefore we often see that when sense gratification diminishes, the love somehow or other dissipates, it dissolves. I love you as long as you have money in your pocket. I love you as long as you're young and good looking. And then somehow or other when you're old and not so good looking, they love, I love some other person who looks like the way you used to look. Someone was telling me that now at least in cities like Bombay, the divorce rate is something like, in America, about 50%. Because previously there was more, the social constraints were greater, or people had more of a sense of duty. But as we progress in the modern standard, you can figure that if you're married, there's a 50% chance that you belong to the group of people whose marriage is going to break. You just don't know which half you're in. The half that's going to stick it out, or the half that's going to split it up. But in any case, if they split up and go looking for better sense gratification. And if they don't split it up, they figure, well, we can probably throw a brick at them. We can probably serve our self-interest better by staying together. Just like a supplier and a customer and the supplier. The customer thinks, well, he's not giving me such a good deal, but it would be so much trouble to find another supplier. And after a while, probably he'd raise his prices too, so I might as well stick with what I've got. As they say in America, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. So, in this way, still the basic principle, whether they stay together or split up, is what will make me happy. And it's not a matter of condemnation, shaking a finger and saying you're just interested in your own happiness. It's just analysis. It's just an objective view of the circumstances. Somehow or other, the material energy has a bewildering potency by which, when we hear these words of love and we see these expressions of love and so much is made of love, we actually believe it. Astonishingly. Although we understand generally that everyone's interested in his own self, somehow or other, when this beautiful girl says that I love you so much, I just care about you, I only want to make you happy, there's no one in the world like you, I've never met anyone like you, I don't think I'd ever meet anyone, I just want to be with you forever, da-da-da-da-da-da. We believe it. This is the astonishing power of Maya, that even grown men, even intelligent, educated people, even experienced people believe these things. So this is called Maya, or the illusory energy of the Lord, which can bewilder even the most intelligent person, even the most experienced person, even the most powerful person, even the most powerful kings of the world. Just one famous historical incident is Antony and Cleopatra. Antony was headed for battle, but Cleopatra was beckoning, and he turned his back on everything to chase Cleopatra. This is the power. The people will give their lives for the woman they love. Who was it? King Edward of England? I think it was Edward. He became attracted to an American divorcee and wanted to marry her. And the Parliament said that, sir, if you marry this commoner, a foreigner and a commoner, and the divorcee also, you'll have to give up the throne. So he agonized over it for some time, and then he announced to his subjects that I would rather give up the throne of England than to be bereft of the company of the woman I love. And Prabhupada said she wasn't even pretty. But this is Maya, that anyway, it was sense gratification to be the king of England, but he thought there's more sense gratification being the husband of such and such woman. This is Maya. That people will risk their lives, their reputations, their health. There's that drug, what is that called? Viagra. You're familiar with that drug? Yes, no. Who knows what Viagra is? A few. Okay. Highly advertised in the West. It's a drug for older men whose sexual potency and sexual desire, everything is, right. So by the wondrous power of this drug, everything can be re-energized. And again, the impotent man can enjoy sex life. So it's become one of the most, as you might imagine, one of the most wildly popular drugs in history. But it does have a downside. The downside is that it's contraindicated for heart patients. If you have a heart condition, then this drug is dangerous. It can bring about death. I guess it stimulates things too much, and a man can die from this drug. So what was happening, is happening, that the heart patients, instead of going to their doctor and saying, "Doctor, can you prescribe such and such drug?" they'll go to some other doctor who doesn't know them. They'll conceal their history of heart problems, and they'll get the drug prescribed. That means they'd rather risk death than live without sex. They'd rather better to die. Better to die than to live without sex. That's the power of this material attraction. They'll risk their life. I knew one person. He became attracted to. He was a skinny guy. He made me look fat. And a little shorter than me, also not as tall and more skinny. He became attracted to some woman who happened to be already married. And he went pursuing that woman. Who was the woman? She was the wife of a 300-pound construction worker. It's like the guy had a death wish or something. But this is the result of the desire for sense gratification. Nunam pramatta kurute vikram. One becomes crazy. Pramatta means absolutely mad. There's so many millions of women in the world, you have to go after this one, the wife of a gorilla. But this is the power of material attraction, by which one becomes bewildered. Even if one doesn't go into such circumstances of risking his life, but for the sake of sense gratification, one is sentenced to hard labor for years and years. Let's say everything is normal and proper, so he gets married, and then he has to work for 30 years, 40 years to satisfy the demands of the wife and the children who are the product of the marriage. Who likes to work? No one would work for free. We'll work only if someone pays us to work. We may say, "I enjoy my work," but if you were working only for enjoyment, everyone would quit. We work because we're paid to work. That means we don't really love our work, but we do it because we have to. Why do I have to? Because I have to support my wife and family. Why do I have to support my wife and family? Because I love them. So for the sake of that love, hard labor for my whole life. So there are so many difficulties. That's the lust side. On the other side, actual love is there when we love Krishna. The love in relationship to this material world is based on this body. Because I have such and such body, I'm attracted to such and such other body. Because I have this kind of set of senses, I'm attracted to that set of senses. Something will gratify my senses. You know, the birds look for birds, the bees look for bees, the men look for women, the women look for men. We look for something that will satisfy our senses in relationship to this body, because senses means this body. The whole platform of the thing is illusory because I'm not this body. What satisfies my senses will not actually satisfy me because I'm not this body. If you're driving in your car and you're very hungry, you haven't eaten for a day and a half, pulling up to the petrol station and filling your tank is not going to satisfy your hunger. That may be good for the car, but it doesn't do much good for you. So the body, yantra ruddhani, it's like a car. Satisfying the demands or the needs of the car doesn't meet my own actual needs as a spiritual living being, which is what I actually am. It's what I actually am. So I'm busy trying to satisfy my desires, my needs, and I don't even know who I am. And the needs that I speak of as my needs are actually not mine. They're the needs of this body. So I think I'm serving my self-interest. Actually, I'm just meeting the demands of this body. I'm putting petrol in the car, but I'm still starving. I think I'm getting freedom and happiness, but actually I'm just meeting the demands of this body, which are never satisfied. It's not that we say I satisfy my needs, but the needs are never satisfied. They come back and they want more. Whatever it may be, the senses, the soul, because I'm not this body, however much you supply to the body, however much I supply to this body doesn't satisfy me. So I'm still hungry. Then I think, well, I didn't get enough of this, or I didn't get enough, I tried that, and still I'm hungry. I haven't done this, I haven't done that. I haven't gone to this club, I haven't purchased this, had this experience, I haven't owned this, I haven't tasted that. I haven't gone here, I haven't gone there, I haven't... that's why, once I do this, then I'll feel... But the more we do, the more we try, the more we find that still we're not satisfied. No matter how much petrol you pump in the car, the man is still hungry. The spiritual needs are not met by any amount of sense gratification. Otherwise, America would be the #1 country of happy people. You know, objectively speaking, America, whatever you want, you can have. Any invention, any device for comfort, any experience you want to have, anything you want to do, anything you want to try, anything you want to provide for your senses, it's there easily. Easily. The things that in India have only been distant tales, in America is everyday life. Now these things are coming to India also, especially in the big cities. You can go to these clubs and you can do this and you can do that and so many things. So Americans have their whole culture. India is still, you can say, restricted. There's still so many social taboos and prohibitions, and the standard of living is also not on the same level. But in America, prohibitions are prohibited. Money is not a problem. Freedom is, everything is there. So then, since the ability to gratify your senses is what makes you happy, Americans should be just deliriously happy all the time. And in fact, they're not. I have a disciple who works for a big pharmaceutical company, and the main product they're doing research on is antidepressants, because that's what there's the biggest market for in America. Whoever comes up with the more powerful antidepressant is going to make a big fortune. In the most wealthy, most opulent, most free, most unrestricted country in the world, some, like 3 out of 10 people are clinically depressed. And the rest are also depressed, but not clinically. So this strategy for happiness doesn't work. We try for our whole life to make it work, and still it doesn't work. And at the time of death, one's life is a failure. Because he's dedicated his whole life to this project of sense gratification, and it's flopped. It's a failure. Or Prabhupada told a story of some man, how he put money regularly in a savings account. So every day for decades he was putting money in the savings account, and then finally, in his old age, he went to withdraw it. And he went to the bank, and the bank peon said, "I'm sorry, sir, there's no money in this account." Then the man, "What do you mean there's no money in this account? For 30 years, I've been every week putting money in the account. How can you say?" Then they did some research. They found for 30 years he's putting money in someone else's account. So the money was going into the wrong account, and he had nothing. So we're putting everything into the account of this body, and at the time of death, we have no assets. We have no assets. So Krishna consciousness means that instead of persisting in this failed project of trying to satisfy our senses, we go the opposite way and dedicate ourselves to satisfying the senses of Krishna, which is our natural position. We're trying to be the enjoyers, and we're not. We're simply not. It doesn't work. Throughout history, men have tried and tried and tried to conquer the universe, conquer the world, conquer this, conquer that, conquer nature, and achieve happiness, and they always fail. Even if suppose they get everything they dreamed of, then it's all taken away at the end. Usually they don't get it. They go on dreaming and hoping and whatever, but if they get it, it's all taken away. So the project fails, because we're not enjoyers, period. Rather, in the material world, so much suffering is there. Actually, what are the love songs? Most of the love songs are songs about suffering. Right? Everybody's laughing. That's what they're, oh, she broke my heart, and, So in the name of enjoyment, we're suffering. Why? Because we don't want to serve Krishna. Because service means suffering. To be a servant means to suffer. But the secret is that to be the servant of Krishna means that we're in our natural position in which happiness will be there. By trying to be the predominators and enjoyers, we become the sufferers and the slaves of Maya. But when we go the other way and try to become the servants of Krishna, then we're actually happy. Praharshiya shyami sanata jivita. We actually become happy because that's our constitutional position, our natural position. The fish out of the water, whatever he does, will never be happy. When he's in the water, then. So, Krishnendriya priti vancha. Krishna is a person, as you and I are persons. The attempt to become impersonal or to see the ultimate truth as something impersonal is another feature of failure. The material world is so frustrating. Let me get liberation into something where there's no personality, because my personal experience is such a mess. But on the opposite side, that's only the opposite side of personal frustration. If it's miserable, then kill it. But there's positive personal experience. That's the experience in the service of Krishna. As I'm a person, as you're a person, Krishna is also a person. Person means senses. You have your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, everything. Krishna also. He's not less. It's not that Krishna has no form, no qualities, no name, no activities. He has everything that we have. Why? How can God become less than the living being? He's more. He's a person, as we're persons, but he's the supreme person. His senses, our senses, you can see with your eyes, you can hear with your ears. Krishna can do anything with any of his senses. He can see with his ears. He can taste with his ears. He can hear with his eyes. He can do anything with any sense. He creates pregnancy just by glancing over material nature. He glances over material nature, and material nature gives birth to all the living beings. His glance is all-powerful. All of his senses are fully capable. So, we're meant to engage our senses in the service of his senses. Then we'll be happy. Then we'll be happy. Of course, in the beginning we think that I'll serve Krishna and that will make me happy. I'll serve Krishna and Krishna will reward me. I'll become free from anxiety, or I'll be prosperous by the grace of God. I'll get this, that. But Krishna is so wonderful that when one engages in the service of Krishna under proper direction, gradually one loses that idea that I'll get something by serving Krishna. And he just wants to serve. Like Dhruva Maharaj wanted a kingdom. He was insulted by his stepmother and told that he could never inherit the kingdom. So then he went to his mother. He was a 5-year-old boy, so he went to his mother. The stepmother mother said, actually, she's right. Your father loves her more than me. What can I do? So I can't help you. Who can help me? God can help you. So Dhruva Maharaj thought, then I have to see God. Where's God? Oh, sages go looking for him in the forest. So Dhruva Maharaj went off to the forest looking for God. He's asking the animals, have you seen God? He's asking the trees, have you seen God? So Krishna saw this boy is very serious. He sent Narad Muni to instruct him. So just to test him, Narad Muni said that you're just a little boy. Better for you to go home. You're a king's son. You're a very delicate young boy. Better you go back to the palace, and when you grow up, then you can go looking for God. But now you better to go home. Dhruva Maharaj was so serious, he said, sir, I want to find God. If you can help me, then you please instruct me. Otherwise, you go home. So Narad Muni saw the boy is very serious, so he instructed him how to perform devotional service very seriously. And the Dhruva Maharaj was very seriously practicing, and very shortly he was able to see the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan. The Lord appeared before Dhruva Maharaj and blessed him. What would you like? You were doing some serious austerity to find me. Now what would you like? Dhruva Maharaj said that Swaman Kritar Tosmi Varam Nayache. No, I don't want anything. He was looking for a kingdom. No. I was looking for some broken pieces of glass. And now I've found a valuable jewel. So I'm completely satisfied. I don't want anything. This is the result of coming in touch with Krishna. The one becomes so satisfied that he's no longer interested in any material source of so-called satisfaction. What is the real satisfaction? To serve. Just to serve Krishna is so rewarding in itself. Not that you get the reward for serving Krishna, serving is the reward. Because then it's just natural that the living being engaged in Krishna's service, he's exactly where he wants to be, exactly where he should be. He's completely fulfilled. As the part in its place in the whole is completely fulfilled, the living being engaged in the service of Krishna feels completely happy. He only wants to love Krishna, serve Krishna. This is the perfection. So, of course, to come to that perfection is not just a matter of sentimentality, that, I have to love Krishna. But how to love Krishna? That love is there. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi. It's there within the heart of every living being. But it has to be reawakened. It doesn't have to be pushed in, inserted, like something artificial. It has to be reawakened. How is that? Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Koriye Udoi. By purification of consciousness. Because my consciousness is covered by the clouds of Maya, I'm thinking that love is to be found someplace else. But when my consciousness is purified, then Koriye Udoi, my natural love for Krishna, will reveal itself. How to do that? Shravanadi. By hearing. Shravan. By hearing about Krishna. Rukmini fell in love with Krishna. How did she fall in love with Krishna? Did she meet him at some club? No. She was at her father's palace, and different sages used to visit the palace, and naturally they would talk about Krishna. And Rukmini would hear, the sages would be talking with her father, and she would hear something, and the more she heard about Krishna, the more she thought, I just have to have this person as my husband. She just became completely attracted to Krishna, so that when her marriage was arranged by her elder brother to Shishupal, she wrote a letter to Krishna that this rascal is going to marry me. It's like the thing which is meant for the lion is going to be given to the jackals. So, better that you come kidnap me. Don't mind, you may think I'm just a young girl, but somehow I've become captivated by you. Please come and take me away and rescue me from this rascal Shishupal. And Krishna did. But how did she develop such attraction? Just by hearing. Because Krishna is so attractive. Everything about Krishna, his name, his form, his complexion, just like a monsoon cloud, his flute, his playing on his flute, the way he stands, the way he speaks, the way he moves, the way he instructs, the way he fights, the way he does everything is so enchanting that by hearing it, one becomes attracted. The soul becomes attracted. Shravanadi, by hearing. Adi means, after hearing, what's the next thing? Chanting. You hear about Krishna and then you want to talk about Krishna. You hear about the glories of the holy name of Krishna, you want to chant Hare Krishna. And Shravanam, Kirtanam, and then the next thing, Smaranam, by hearing and chanting about Krishna, you remember Krishna, you think of Krishna. And Padasevanam, you want to serve Krishna. Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam. In this way, one becomes engaged in the process of devotional service to Krishna. It's a systematic process. It's not sentimental that I surrender myself to Krishna. Sometimes we see there's some religious meeting and people are urged to come forward and give their life to God or God's Son. And some people come forward and they sign a paper that from this day on my life belongs to the Son of God. And they have this experience and transformation. And then 2 weeks later, they're back the way they were. Because it was a nice sentiment, but there was no systematic process by which to advance in that line of action. So bhakti doesn't mean simply religious sentiment or devotional sentiment. It means practical action. Practical action by engaging our senses in the service of the master of the senses, Krishna. The goal is to become engaged in Krishna's service, always, eternally. And the process is to be engaged in Krishna's service. The process and the result are the same. The process is to engage in the service of Krishna, engage our senses in the service of Krishna, and the result is to be engaged always in the service of Krishna. So there are so many practical activities, hearing, chanting, and then whatever abilities, whatever skills you have, you can use in the service of Krishna. You can use your eyes for seeing Krishna, your ears for hearing Krishna, your tongue for chanting Hare Krishna or taking Krishna prasadam, your hands for sweeping the temple or doing some other work, for your legs to come to the temple. All of your senses you can use in the service of Krishna. And the result of being engaged in service will be more service. One time Srila Prabhupada was at an airport, and one in New York, and one reporter was chasing after him with a microphone, asking questions while Prabhupada was on the way to the plane. And he said, "Sir, what will be the benefit of this chanting? What will be the result of this chanting?" Prabhupada said, "Chanting? Chanting. The result of the chanting will be more chanting." That's the fact. Anandam Buddhi Bardhanam. The result of serving Krishna will be serving Krishna more. The more one chants Hare Krishna, the more one wants to chant Hare Krishna. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one wants to hear. The sages at Naimisharanya, Vayam tu na vitripyamaha, uttama shloka, vikrame, yachtrin vatam rasakyanam, svadu svadu pade pade. We never get tired about hearing these topics of Krishna. Vayam tu na vitripyam. We never become satiated. Now we've heard enough. No, we always want to hear more. Yat shrinvatam rasagyanam. Those who know what taste is, or those who know how to relish a relationship with Krishna. Svadu svadu pade pade. They relish the taste of this service to Krishna at every step. So this is the process for the very beginners. It's the same process for the intermediate students, and for the advanced students, the same process. To be engaged always in the service of Krishna. The only difference is that in the neophyte stage or beginning stage, we'll get some taste, and in the advanced stage, we'll get the full taste. Like a green mango and ripe mango. It's mango at every stage, but in the ripe stage you get the full taste. That's also said, Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. What is that? Sukumakad Amrita Dravya Samyutam. That this Nigamakal Galitam Palam, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripe fruit of the desire tree of Vedic knowledge. In the Vedas there's so many things for dharma, for artha, for kama, sense gratification, even for moksha. But the highest fruit of this tree from Vedas can give you whatever you want. You want to religious principles, it's there. You want economic development, you can find direction for that. You want sense gratification, that's also expounded. You want liberation, you can. But the highest fruit is the fruit found in Srimad Bhagavatam, the message of pure Krishna consciousness. Sukhamukad Amrita Dravya Samyutam. It's spoken by Sri Sukad Goswami. Sukadev Goswami, Shuka means also parrot. And I'm told, of course Srila Prabhupada said, and some people who have a mango grove told me reliably, that if a parrot pecks at the fruit, it becomes more sweet. You know, somehow or other when he pecks at it, then some maybe pectins or something, they're brought out, and the fruit becomes even more sweet. So Vyasadeva says that because this Bhagavatam was spoken by Sukadev Goswami, because it's been tasted by the parrot, it's become even more sweet. Amrita Dravya Samyutam. This fruit is like, it's so soft that it's not even solid anymore. If you have a mango tree, you go to the store, you get mangoes. But if you have a tree, you can get the mango which is exactly ripe, which is so ripe that it's just like nectar. It's not even solid anymore. It's so ripe that you can't just take it down from the tree. You have to hand it down from one person to the next very carefully, because it's so ripe. It falls to the ground. So in the parampara system, from master to disciple, one can receive this fruit of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is so ripe that it's soft and it's not even solid anymore, it's semi-solid. And then, Pibata Bhagavatam. One can drink Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not said eat Srimad Bhagavatam, drink Srimad Bhagavatam. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam, which is the storehouse of all nectar. Rasamalayam. Or which is the source for discovering one's eternal personal relationship with Krishna. Muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. So just relish Srimad Bhagavatam. Relish the holy name of Krishna, relish the message of Krishna, and that will transform the heart. That will transform the heart. The heart will become purified, shravanadi shuddha chitte, and then will come from lust, from the frustrating desire to satisfy our senses in the material world, we'll come to our natural position of love for Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions? There is, right in the middle, where the microphone's going to have a hard time reaching.
Please raise your hand.
Right there in the middle, there's someone with the blue shirt. Do you have enough room in the back, by the way? Everyone can move forward a little bit. There's some people in the back who I think don't have enough room. Just everyone a little bit forward.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, you are telling that about we are sometimes sentimental in our sadhana bhakti.
Oh, a little slower, and you can hold the microphone a little bit further away, but not too far.
Yeah. So Maharaj, like sometimes we also we practice bhakti because of our sentiments, or we practice it because we are sometimes forced to practice in our like getting up in the morning and so on. So how much it is conducive for our practice of this devotional service?
We sometimes practice because of sentiment. Did you catch that, Radha Chaitanya Chari? Sometimes we practice because of sentiment and sometimes because of force. How much does that help us?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes. Of course, sentiment, if you're sentimental for the right thing, that will help you. Suppose you buy a very valuable stock because you know it starts with the same letter as your girlfriend's name. Some sentimental reason. But if it turns out that it's an excellent stock, then you make a lot of money. It doesn't matter that your reason was sentimental, but if you're sentimental about the right thing, you get the benefit. But sentiment is not reliable. The chances that you'll pick the right stock because it has the same name as your girlfriend is not very high. And today I'll think this stock is nice, tomorrow I'll think that stock is nice. Today I'll make $1 million, I'll make 1 crore, tomorrow I'll lose 1 crore. So sentiment may, by chance, bring you to the right place, but it's not a steady platform. So if you come on sentiment, that's all right, but you may leave on sentiment. Therefore, we're meant to understand things philosophically and scientifically. Why do we have so many books? It's so that we won't be resting simply on sentiment, religious fervor. No. On knowledge, on deep understanding, that way. As far as force, of course no one can force you to become Krishna conscious. But sometimes we volunteer to have a little force applied. Just like someone sets an alarm clock. Why? Because he knows that automatically he won't get up, but when the alarm clock makes its obnoxious sound, then I'll get up. That means he wants to get up, but some little extra stimulus is required to make sure that he achieves his goal. Or someone's in sports, so he engages a trainer. What is the trainer? It's the trainer. The trainer is the person who says, no, you have to do this. You have to do one more. You have to do this and this. And the person says, all right. So it's by force, but he's volunteered. That yes, you force me. Why? Because by that force, one becomes strong. One develops some good habit, or one develops some, just like a student. In the beginning he's forced, you have to read the books. Or he's forced, you have to learn the alphabet. In the beginning there's some force, but the result is that he develops a taste. And then you can't stop him from reading books. He stays up till late at night reading his favorite book, or he's always carrying some book. In the beginning, there may be a little force. But in the mature stage, there's spontaneous desire. The spiritual master, by surrendering to a spiritual master, one places oneself under discipline. Or just like here, we're in the cantonment area. People volunteer for the army. And after they join the army, what happens? Then they're placed under a commanding officer who forces them to do so many things. You have to do, you see them doing their exercises and doing their drills. But what's the result? They become very powerful soldiers. So they've volunteered to place themselves under discipline to develop their capability. So one surrenders to a spiritual master to place oneself under discipline. I was going to do whatever I was going to do, but you please tell me what to do. And then the spiritual master says, yes, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. And by following the orders of the spiritual master, one becomes spiritually strong. Huh? Is that all right? Does that answer your question? There's a question here. Or wherever the microphone goes is all right with me.
First, I would like to, Swamiji, pay my obeisance to you by chanting Hare Krishna. Swamiji, I would like to ask, you have told that in this materialistic world, one used to please others, one used to propose others just to satisfy himself, just to please himself. Swamiji, we used to give quality times with our relatives. We used to
Excuse me?
We used to give quality times with our near and dear ones.
Yes.
We used to visualize the sufferings of our fellow human beings.
We have to visualize the sufferings of our fellow human beings?
We used to see their grief, we used to see their sorrow.
No, you can hold the microphone a little closer. Closer.
Closer.
Yes.
We used to share their grief, we used to share their
Share
joy,
their grief,
enjoyment, their pleasure. So if we don't develop an attitude to please others, to please other human beings or our relatives whom we used to see live, whom we used to share quality time, how can we develop an attitude to please Krishna? And is not the true service lies in the fact that we should love our fellow human beings?
No. You can't even think of all your fellow human beings. How many human beings are in this hall? Maybe several hundred? You don't even know what's happening with these several hundred other human beings. And they're only a small fraction of the number who are in the city of Pune. And they're only a small fraction who are in Maharashtra. They're only a small fraction of those in India. And they're only a speck in terms of all the human beings on the planet, and what to speak of the whole universe. So how much grief or happiness will you share? You hardly know what's going on with 5 or 10 or 20 human beings. And how can you share their feelings, or even do something? Suppose you're sympathetic, what will you do for them? So it's not even possible to think of them. It's not within our grasp. Apart from that, simply serving the other human beings. First of all, why only the human beings? Why this chauvinism?
Because they resemble us, first of all.
Why? So, the Indians resemble, as an Indian you may say, well, the Indians resemble me, so I'm going to do something for the Indians. And the other people, the Europeans can go to hell, the Chinese can go to hell.
No, I mean to say, sir, Swamiji, that it is the first step to climb a ladder.
Yeah, but why be so? On the one side, you can't even find the steps. There are so many living beings, you can't do something for even a fraction of them. And the second thing is, you're just discriminating in terms of some bodily conception. That the living beings who have a body like my body, I'll take interest in them. Because I have 2 hands and 2 feet, I'll take interest in those who have 2 hands and 2 feet. And those who have 4 feet, they can go to hell. I love humanity, and I eat the animals. That we find that. The people are great philanthropists, great humanitarians, and they're doing everything for their fellow human being and torturing the animals. So it's a limited conception, and at the same time it's a conception beyond what we can really hope to achieve. Really what it is, it's like trying to water the leaves of a tree. There's a big tree, and we feel some sympathy for the tree, and so we're going to start watering all the thirsty leaves and branches. Will it work? I say, well, I can't water all of them, but I can make a start. I'll water 10 or 20 or 100 or 200 leaves out of the thousands of leaves on a banyan tree, let's say. Better, if you water the root of the the water will be distributed to all the leaves and branches. Thinking of everyone is not possible, but thinking of Krishna is possible. And Krishna is the root of all living beings. When you serve Krishna, your service will be distributed. When you serve the little, this living being, that living being, the service will be dissipated. So rather than trying to serve everyone, and then the next thing is, we don't know how to serve them. We feel for their grief, but what will we do for them? You know, they have some pain, so we'll stroke their arm so they'll feel better. They have a boil, so we'll blow on their boil so they'll feel better. What can we actually do for them? All the immense grief of humanity, or the immense grief of all the living creatures in the world, what can we hope to do? How will we help them? But if you engage in the service of Krishna through Krishna consciousness, you can give the maximum benefit. Their real problem is not that they don't have enough food, that they don't have enough shelter, that they don't have enough medicine, that they don't have enough education. The real problem is they've forgotten Krishna. And therefore they've come to this material world, and therefore all the other problems have ensued. If you can solve that problem, you've solved all their problems. So the best place to begin is in the devotional service of the Lord, the devotional service of Krishna, and then you can serve everyone to the maximum extent. And you'll be doing the best service for yourself also. The philanthropist, although he's doing things for others, he's not really solving their problem. It's like a person is drowning in the ocean, and you take off your shirt and you dive into the ocean and you swim out there and you grab him by the shirt and you bring back his shirt. You know, to do something for the body of the bodily welfare is like doing something for the shirt and coat of the living being. There's so many wonderful welfare organizations dedicated to serving the shirt and the coat. But when we try to bring someone to Krishna consciousness, then we actually rescue the living being himself from the ocean of birth and death. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's see what these questions are.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Who's there?
Yes. Swamiji. Yes, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Swamiji. Maharaj, I want to, what is the characteristic of pure love?
What is the
Characteristic
of pure love? That it's selfless.
Maharaj, we can say that when mother loves her child,
that's maybe the closest example in the material world. That the mother does everything for the child, hardly thinking about herself. But still, because it's the material world, even that is not pure. The mother is thinking that the child will take care of me in my old age. The mother is, when the child grows up a little bit, the mother is urging him that you should go to engineering college so that you'll earn very nicely. And she's not only thinking about how he'll be all right, but how she'll be all right. So it's not quite pure, although it's, say, the purest love in the material world. But in the spiritual world, you find the actual thing, that the devotees are so in love with Krishna that they have no concern for their own happiness. They just want to make Krishna happy. Why do they do that? Because it's natural. In the material world, it's almost unnatural. If someone is serving, hardly thinking of himself, he becomes a great person in the estimation of everyone else because it's so unusual. The whole atmosphere, this is the world where everyone is dog eat dog. Everyone is out for his own interest. So if someone is a little bit philanthropic, or a little bit doing something to help the community or whatever, people think he's a Mahatma. He's a great, wonderful soul because it's so unusual. But in the spiritual world, it's usual. It's the standard. Everybody in the spiritual world is like that. Here, the greatest person is something like that. And in the spiritual world, every person is completely like that. Because it's natural. Yes. All right. Wherever the microphone goes.
Swamiji. Yeah. This side.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry. Swamiji, is expectation in any way wrong? We expect something from ourselves. Like we say we want to serve Krishna. That's an expectation from ourselves. We expect from others, our parents expect from us, so many different types of expectation. Is it wrong? If I expect myself to do something right, is it wrong?
Let's ask ourselves, first of all, whether it's realistic. I have so many expectations, and so many of them are totally unrealistic. I expect that by education, I'll get a good job. And then by education, I find that I'm competing with 400,000 other people who have the same idea. Or I successfully get the job, and I think now that I've got the job, I'll be very happy. And then I find that the job is actually miserable, that it doesn't pay enough, that the hours are longer than I expected, that I have to do things that are very unpleasant. So it's not quite what I expected. I get married. I have some very wonderful expectations. And then usually it doesn't take too long, a few weeks, one finds out that expectation and reality may not match. But that's the material world. We expect so many things, and the realistic, the reality is different. That's the first thing. Second thing is, what is it that I'm expecting? Is it actually good? I'm expecting this, I'm expecting that. Is it good, and is it realistic? So expectation, just like desire. Desire is not bad. But I'm desiring something impossible to get, or I'm desiring something gettable but miserable. The desire, therefore the impersonalists think desire is a problem. Kill desire. But they can't do it. Desire keeps reviving. So in Krishna consciousness, we don't say kill desire, but change the desire. Desire the ultimate reality. Desire that which is most desirable and most achievable also. You can realistically achieve Krishna consciousness. If you follow the process, you can expect to achieve the result. And if you achieve the result, you'll be completely satisfied. So go for the highest expectation.
Expectation, in a sense, if the desires are proper,
Yes.
there's a proper desire behind the expectation, so it's justifiable.
But proper means Krishna conscious. My desires in the material world, even if we say it's a proper desire, to have a good job is not an improper desire. It's all right, but the job is not going to make my life really successful. It may provide some money, it may provide some job satisfaction, but that's not the perfection of my life, that I worked a job for so many years. The perfection of my life is that I've developed love for Krishna. So even the things that are materially proper, they're all right, but how much can you expect, from a cow, you can't expect the ocean of milk. Milk is good, cow is good, but you can't expect an ocean of milk from a cow. So the material world is all right. You can get something, but you can't get everything. You can't get the actual satisfaction. You can get some limited something. Even if we think it's good, and Krishna says it's not so good either. The project is pretty shabby. Dukhaliyam ashashvatam. But even if you think there's so many things in the material world, they're good and proper, but even if you get them, that's not the perfection of life.
Swamiji, the last one. Does that mean compromise? then if we say that we cannot accept everything, you don't let yourself go, you don't let yourself free. I'm saying, you serve God, you serve Krishna, you say there won't be any limit, there would be nothing between me and the God. I want to serve in every way I can. I'll say. So, in a way, are we saying that when we don't expect something to the fullest, are we compromising? And is it right?
I'm not quite sure how this fits together. You want to serve God to the fullest and do so many things,
Yes.
but then compromise in which way?
No, that's one of the things. I mean, if I'm saying...
And then I want to enjoy materially, I want to have a nice house, a good car?
No, it's not like that. Say I'm expecting something, and the desire behind the expectation is good, is a proper one. Now, again, you're saying that it has to be limited. So does that mean that somewhere down the line I have to compromise with the expectations that I'm setting up for myself or for the people
Yes,
who are
if
behind?
materially we have expectation will always exceed what's delivered. If your expectations on the material platform for something good, whatever you expect, it'll be less. Unless you expect to be miserable your whole life and suffer. That you can get. But if you're expecting, happiness and bliss and satisfaction and a married life that's always happy and children who are always ideal children and so it's just, it doesn't live here. It's not to be found. It's storybook. So that will always, it's a dream. So it's like the mirror of reality. A bird is seeing some very tasty fruit and pecking at the mirror to enjoy it. So his expectation is that this fruit is going to be very nice. But what's delivered is that he hurts his beak on the mirror. But if he goes the opposite direction and sees, well, this is not the real fruit must be someplace else. He has to be a very smart bird. But if he understands that, real fruit is someplace else, then his expectation will be fulfilled. So from the reflection of reality, your expectations will only be frustrated. When you go to the reality itself, fully satisfied. Okay? Thank you. Hare Krishna. I think you have to switch it on.
Yeah, I'm here for the first time.
Welcome.
And I want to ask a question. What's the apart from our love towards Krishna, what's the difference between love and attraction towards girls for us?
What's the difference between love and affection towards girls?
Attraction.
Love and attraction?
Towards girls. Like
You mean what's the difference between love and attraction?
So how can we differentiate if we see a beautiful girl? How I'm attracted to her. How can we differentiate I'm in love with her or I'm attracted to her?
Attraction is the initial stage, and love is the terminal stage. Or you can say attraction is acute and love is chronic.
And crush.
Attraction, that's explained in Bhagavad Gita. Jayata vishya pumsam sangas teshu pajayate. Sangat sanjayate kama. The beginning is attraction. What is attraction? Attraction begins by meditation. We notice something about the girl. That she's got a pink ribbon in her hair. To choose a pretty innocuous example. We notice that she has a pink ribbon in her hair. Or we notice how her eyebrows are curved. Or we notice that her hair curls around her ear in a funny little way. Or we notice something. And since we've noticed, now it becomes fascination. So that I notice, and now I'm staring. Or now I'm just looking, and I'm wondering, is she married, or does she have a boyfriend, or wonder what she'd think of me, or the mind is now going. Dhyayata, meditation. He's attracted, and now he's thinking. Dhyayata vishaya pumsa sangasteshu bhajayate. So the meditation becomes the source of association. Hi, my name's Rajiv. Who are you? And what are you doing Friday night, or whatever it is? So the next thing is association. And by association, sangat sanjayate kama. Now it becomes strong desire. You can call it love, or you can call it lust. In Bhagavad Gita, it's called, anyway, it's strong desire. Why? Because these two are naturally attracted. If you take the butter and you bring it near the fire, what happens? It melts. So you became a little attracted, and now you've become associated, and the next thing is to melt. So now the heart melts, and we say it's love, or you can say it's lust, but anyway, it's this strong desire. And now the madness begins. That I can't live without you. I need you. I want you. I want to spend my whole life with you. I just want to be your slave forever. But that's not the end of it. Kamat krodho bijayate. When the desire or love is frustrated, and in the material world, that's the nature of things, one becomes angry. You said you loved me. You said you wanted to do everything for me. And now you just want me to take out the garbage. One becomes angry. In the beginning it's like, I love you so much, I just want to do everything for you. And then later it's, you bum. My father was right about you. Krodhat bhavati sammohat. Then one becomes bewildered. And sammohat smriti, one forgets what is what. Smriti brahmshad buddhi, then he loses his intelligence. And buddhi nashat, when your intelligence is gone, then you're finished. Well, so often we find it goes that way. It starts just with a little attraction. Then it goes step by step. Raga dvesha vimuktais indriyais, vishyan indriyais charan. Atma vashar vidhe atma prasadam adhigashchati. But if one is freed from, on the one side there's attraction, and then the other side there's repulsion. I love this one, I hate that one. Or first I love this one, and then I hate that one. Duality, because this is the material world. If one gets free from this material duality of love and hate, because where there's strong love, there'll be strong hate someplace in the equation. If one gets freed from that, by controlling his mind, controlling his senses, and engaging in the service of Krishna, then he gets Krishna's mercy. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasya upajayate. By getting Krishna's mercy, he's freed from all material miseries. Prasanna chetaso yasu. His mind becomes joyful. Buddhir paryavatishtate. And then his intelligence becomes fixed on the spiritual platform. Click.
You said that we should love only Krishna. Then are we not being too selfish?
We should love only Krishna. Are we not being... No, because if you love Krishna, Krishna includes everyone. When you love the root of the tree, it's not that you're depriving the roots and the branches and leaves, you're supplying to all of them. If you love Krishna, then your love is universal. If you try to have universal love, love all humanity, love all living beings, you can't even think of them. It's not possible. But if you love Krishna, then you love everyone, because Krishna includes everyone. Or taking it another way, you want to love Krishna because that's in your self-interest. So you were selfish before because you wanted a car, but now you want Krishna, so you're absolutely selfish. You're selfish to the absolute extent. Before you were only relatively selfish. Now you're absolutely selfish. It means that your selfishness is now on the absolute platform. That you desire what is actually your self-interest instead of what you thought was your self-interest. What is your self-interest? To serve the Supreme. Is that okay? All right.
Hare Krishna, Swamiji. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
I have a related question. Now, lust is not good because it derives away from Krishna. Now, he said that we are getting attracted to women and girls, and why? So, why we are getting attracted to women? Why God has made women so beautiful that we get attracted? Why? Because if He wants us to go to Him, then why He must not make like that?
Yeah, good question. It's actually based on mental concoction. We say He's made women so beautiful. But why is she beautiful? She's beautiful because my mind says she's beautiful. Not because she's actually beautiful, but the mind says she's beautiful. Just like sometimes you see some really ugly, low-class woman with her boyfriend or husband. And you look and you think, oh my God, what an ugly woman. But the husband is seeing such a beautiful woman. You're not like that. You have your beautiful girlfriend, but the demigods see your beautiful girlfriend and they think, ooh.
Swamiji?
But, yes.
Suppose one of our friends says that he's looking a very beautiful girl, and I says, don't do that because your mind is getting distracted. So he says, no, I'm looking at the creation of Krishna. So how to explain it? How to explain him?
It's true. He's looking at the creation of Krishna, but Krishna has two energies. The internal energy and the external energy. The internal energy is real, and the external energy is false. False means not that it's not there, but it's temporary. Your beautiful girlfriend, how long will she be beautiful? Maybe till you marry her. The love, the beauty, so often it turns to disappointment. I thought she was this, I thought she was that. But even if she's everything you thought she was, she dies. Or you die. And then you've lost everything. So Krishna says, Dukkhale Mashashvatam. The material world, the so-called source of happiness, so often is not often, it is a source of distress, because happiness and distress come together. If you pick up happiness materially, you pick up distress, because the two are inseparable. You can't just pick up the head side of the coin. The tail side comes with it. So you pick up happiness, you pick up distress. That's the material world. Dukkhalayam. And even if you say no, just like the Prabhupada gives the example that sweet rice, kheer, is very nice. But suppose you take, a teaspoonful of sand and mix it in. Is it nice? Still sweet? Still milk? Still rice? But will you take that? No. But I thought your philosophy is, well, I'll take the good with the bad. People say, well, I'll take the good with the bad. But will you? If I give you kheer mixed with sand, will you take it? Well, that's the material world. The happiness is always mixed with distress. And even if you think, well, whatever it is, I'll take it, I'll enjoy it, whatever's there, that's enough for me. But then it's taken away. Ashashvatam. But in the spiritual world, everything is permanent and everything is unadulterated. The happiness is not happiness mixed with distress, it's happiness. Yes?
Hare Krishna, Swamiji.
Hare Krishna.
Swamiji, one thing I want to be enlightened with. What is the difference between love of Radha and love of all the, devotees Meera?
What's the difference between Radharani's love for Krishna and the love that all the devotees have for Krishna?
Yeah, all the devotees means particularly I want to say, like Meera, Rukmani, and like all the people who have loved so much for Krishna, and still they are not the best lovers of Krishna.
Yes, that's the difference. That Radharani's love is the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the difference. That I love Krishna. Even among the perfect devotees of Krishna, Radharani's love is still the greatest. It's still the greatest.
But what is the difference between both of them?
What's the difference between 10 rupees and 100 rupees?
You have told that the basic objective of life should be to please Krishna, to offer everything in the service of Krishna, even it is better than the service to mankind. So I would like to ask you, how can we develop such profound, such genuine, such determined love towards Krishna? Because I feel that majority of the person worship, because either they are told to worship.
Majority of the persons?
Majority of the people worship because either they are told or either they imitate others.
Yes.
So how can we develop such profound, such intense love towards Krishna? Because we never visualize him, we have never seen him alive, we have never seen him live. So how can we develop such profound love towards him?
Yes, a good question. In the beginning we worship because we're imitating others or following someone else's instruction. So that's not intense love, that's a little imitation or some following of orders. But if we're properly guided by someone who's advanced in the science of Krishna, then he knows how to bring that initial interest or attraction or faith to the higher platform, next higher platform. There's a process that's described. If you read especially the Nectar of Devotion or Srila Prabhupada's other books, you'll find how step by step. It's not simply, you plunge in and you hope that you'll swim to the destination. There's a step-by-step process. You do this and you do this. But the beginning is that doing those things that may appear to be routine, because those things have such spiritual potency, very soon they manifest a higher, you get enthusiasm. Suppose you're chanting Hare Krishna. Why are you chanting Hare Krishna? Because you're imitating someone, or because someone told you should chant Hare Krishna at least 10 minutes a day. So you're doing it. But then by doing it, you develop enthusiasm. This is nice. And then it becomes more tasteful. The example given is mishri given to the jaundiced patient. For the patient who has jaundice, the prescription is mishri, sugar candy. It cures jaundice. And what does mishri taste like? If you have jaundice, it tastes bitter. But if you take the mishri every day, it starts to cure the tongue, and so the jaundice clears up. And the more it clears up, the more you taste the mishri to be sweet. Well, it's like that. In the beginning, it's just something for which I don't have very much taste, something I'm doing because the doctor said to do it. But in the end, it becomes completely relishable. Is that okay? Yes, another question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My first question is, what is the source of desire?
The source of desire is the soul. Or the source of desire is Krishna. Krishna personally has desires. He's not a stone. He has thoughts. He has feelings. He has desires. Because he's a conscious living being. And as a conscious living being, as a person, he has desires. Because we're tiny parts of Krishna, we have desires also. Why does the drop have H2O? Because the ocean has H2O. So, being parts of Krishna, it's natural, it's inherent for us to have desires. The only problem is that now the desire is directed toward something frustrating. I'm desiring to get the fruit in the mirror. But if I turn the desire to the real fruit, then I'll be happy. I don't have to stop desiring, oh, I'm hurting my beak on the mirror. No, let me find the real fruit.
In case Krishna is the real source of desire, then why do we get these lusty desires? I mean, he should have directed everything to his devotional service.
Because of our tiny size, and we've misused our independence and come into contact with the material energy. When just in the material energy, the desire becomes perverted desire. It becomes a desire for something other than Krishna, a desire to enjoy instead of to give enjoyment. Due to contact with the material atmosphere. Just as yes. Yes, we've become polluted by the material energy, and then the desire becomes polluted.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. You said Krishna have desires. Then what are his desires?
What are Krishna's desires?
Yeah.
Krishna desires to reciprocate in love. Just like here, we desire, what do we most desire? We desire to have some loving dealings, don't we? Loving dealings with our fellow human beings, loving relationships with our friends, loving relationship with our children, loving relationship with our parents, loving relationship with our wife. We most want love, not that we most want to work. We most want loving dealings. So Krishna wants to reciprocate love with his devotees. And in the spiritual world, that's what's going on. As the devotees selflessly want to serve Krishna, Krishna selflessly wants to serve his devotees. And those reciprocations of love are the real essence of Krishna's existence. But out of love also, those who want to neglect Krishna, Krishna says, all right, here, have the material world. That's a kind of love also. All right, you want to be independent, suffer, but all right, go ahead. But Krishna is always trying to rescue us. That's his desire. Therefore Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to spread this chanting. Yes, question. Your question?
Prabhuji, please accept my most humble obeisance to your lotus feet. I had a word with one of the disciples, like one of the followers of Buddhism.
I think if you hold the microphone a little closer.
Okay. So I had a word with one of the followers of Buddhism, and he was preaching the philosophy of voidism. And he was teaching that non-violence is always better than violence. So what Krishna is teaching is violence to Arjuna. However, when we read Bhagavad Gita, we find that through violence, Krishna is teaching so many things.
Through violence what?
Krishna is teaching so many things.
Yes.
So the point is, how do we intellectually decide that non-violence is better or the violence is better? Or how do we decide that, like it's been told to me by devotees that Lord Buddha was the incarnation of Krishna. Though I haven't read it anywhere.
So what? You haven't read it anywhere. Yes, it's in Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah. So, but like, how do I decide that this form of Krishna is superior to that form, or how the philosophy of Buddhism is inferior or superior to Krishna consciousness?
Oh, a lot of questions there. There's about 5 in one. Let's take violence or non-violence first. Violence or non-violence is not the highest thing. Just to make non-violence the highest principle is to take only one principle among so many and elevate it to the ultimate goal. Just to be non-violent is in one sense negative. You're not violent. But what are you? Well, we don't know what I am. But I'm not this. So non-violence is not positive, it's only not negative. Apart from that, non-violence is not absolutely applicable. It's not always the best. Generally it's good. Not that we want to walk around being violent all the time. To be non-violent is a good quality. It's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Himsa samata tushtis. Tapodana. To be non-violent is good. But it's not absolutely good. If someone's trying to rape your sister, do you stand there and say, well, my policy is to be non-violent? She's screaming, help, help. No, I'm non-violent. The hell with your non-violence. Not that non-violence is absolutely good. Non-violence is generally good, but sometimes violence is very good. Some thief is robbing your home or trying to set fire to your home. You call the police, and the police come running. And you say, help, help, they're stealing, or they're trying to murder my mother, or they're doing this, that. The policeman says, I'm sorry, I'm non-violent. For a policeman to be violent is good. The police should be prepared to use violence to protect the innocent person. Then violence is good. Just imagine a surgeon. You're having a what is that called? Appendicitis. You urgently need your appendix removed. So he has to cut, but he says, I'm sorry, I'm non-violent. I can't bring myself to do it. In the hands of the qualified surgeon, cutting is good. Though in the hands of the proper person, violence properly applied is a good principle, not bad. What is good? When it's used to protect the innocent people. But Lord Buddha, he's an incarnation of Krishna. He came and taught non-violence. Why? Because people were addicted at the time to animal killing. And they were using the Vedas as a pretext. Oh, in the Vedas there's animal sacrifice. They didn't give a damn about the sacrifice, they just wanted to eat the animals. So then, rather than try to get into a complicated argument, Lord Buddha just rejected the Vedas. and said, here's a higher principle, nonviolence. Nonviolence. In this way, he saved the poor animals and he saved people from the grievous sin of killing the animals. But nowadays we find so many Buddhists who are meat eaters. So what is the use of their Buddhism? Apart from that, the idea of void is not sensible. If everything is void, then where does the non-void come from? The world is an illusion because really there's only void. Well, where does the illusion come from? How from a void does illusion spring up? That they can't explain. We explain the illusion comes from Krishna. Krishna, if you want an illusion, Krishna makes it for you. It's sensible. But why does a void want to make an illusion for you? A void has no desires. And there's nothing in the void to make an illusion out of. So how does it... Their philosophy is indefensible. The philosophy is indefensible. The principle of non-violence is only relatively good. Krishna consciousness is absolutely good, absolutely defensible, and practical. Is that all right? Another question? Last question.
Hare Krishna. Swamiji, I've been chanting from last many days, but whenever I chant, like I think about like I'll chant and chant and chant like so many days, and till the time I'll die, I'll keep on chanting. But then my question is like when I will meet Krishna, like when Krishna will give darshan to every human being or every living being in this earth, because in my opinion, people hesitate to serve Krishna because they don't actually see Krishna. So like if I close my eyes, like there's a picture of Krishna, but I cannot see Krishna in reality. Like any example, like the greatest devotee in this earth have seen Krishna actually.
Yes, so the first thing is, it's not true that even if you see Krishna, you'll love Krishna. Duryodhana saw Krishna also. Kamsa also saw Krishna. But their consciousness was something else. Their consciousness was anti-Krishna, so even seeing Krishna, they didn't want to serve Krishna. But now let's take those who want to serve Krishna. They have to see Krishna through the ears, not through the eyes. The ears are more effective. You want to see the wind, that will be very difficult. But you can hear the wind, woo, woo, woo. Then you know the wind is there. The hearing is more effective. So many ways you can understand. Your whole education is really by hearing, isn't it? Hearing, not by seeing. More by hearing. So, abhinatan nama namino. There's no difference between Krishna and Krishna's name. It's just a question of realization. So, when one is mature in hearing Krishna, then that hearing is as good as seeing. He'll see Krishna through the process of hearing. Another answer, our spiritual master used to say that don't try to see Krishna, but try to act in such a way that Krishna will want to see you. Just suppose you want to, you're working in Mr. Birla's factory and you'd like to meet Mr. Birla. So you're just one of the guys, doing some menial task in the business. So how are you going to meet him? He's a big man, he's worth crores and crores. So who are you that you'll meet him? But if for some reason he wants to see you, suppose you're doing very good work in the factory, or suppose you come up with some super way to improve the work of the factory, then he wants to see you, then it's one moment's business. And then you'll see him. When he wants to see you, you'll see him. So Srila Prabhupada used to say, don't try to see Krishna, but try to act in such a way that Krishna will want to see you. Just like we go before the deities, we say, take darshan. But the actual process is to present oneself before the deity, to serve the deity, so that Krishna will think that here's someone that I want to see. Why do I? Because he wants to serve me. He wants to serve me. Dhruva Maharaj, he wanted to see Krishna, but when Krishna wanted to see him, then it was possible. There are so many great devotees, they've seen Krishna. You can see Krishna face to face. We just have to be enthusiastic, patient, follow these principles of Krishna consciousness, and success is assured. Is that all right?
Like now, I'm at the initial stage. So if I say now that feeling Krishna is more better than seeing Krishna, then am I in the right direction?
It's not feeling as much as hearing. Feeling is also good. You'll feel that Krishna is with you. That's also good. But the hearing is the most important. The meditation is to hear. You don't have to think something special. You don't have to feel something special. If you just concentrate on hearing, just Prabhupada once said, you try to hear yourself chant sincerely. Concentrate on hearing, then everything will be there. Feeling will come, seeing will come. Everything will come from hearing.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. Very good questions this evening.
Hare Krishna. So many of you have more questions, and His Holiness Advait Swami Maharaj is here with us. Tomorrow morning he will be giving a Srimad Bhagavatam class between 10:30 to 12:30, and tomorrow evening also a Bhagavad Gita class is there. And Monday and Tuesday also morning evening programs are there. Tuesday is Nityanand Trayodashi. That day he will be giving the evening festival lecture as well as the morning Bhagavatam lecture. So all of you can continue asking your questions in any of these programs. Let us now thank His Holiness Advait Maharaj for his wonderful class and his very exciting and enlightening question answer session by loudly chanting Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! His Holiness Advait Swami Maharaj ki
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Next week also we are going to have a very special guest, again from the United States of America. We have His Grace Drutakarma Prabhu, one of the senior scientist disciples of Srila Prabhupada, who is known in the secular world as Dr. Michael Cremo. So he is coming to Pune for almost a week, and he will be giving the next youth meeting on the topic Human Devolution, a Vedic alternative to Darwinian evolution. He is a scientist who is proposing a spiritual alternative to materialistic science based on the evolution theory, and we'll also be arranging programs for him in different colleges. Already the programs in Government Engineering College Pune, AIT, VIT in fact on the 20th, he's been invited as the keynote speaker for the technical festival that they are having for 4 days. So he'll be coming for various programs, and next week he'll be giving the youth meeting at the same time between 6 to 8. So all of you can inform even your friends, especially those who are interested in science and spirituality, to come for this program by Drutakarma Prabhu, Dr. Michael Cremo, on human devolution.
Hare Krishna. we would like to welcome those students who have come for the first time in our Saturday voice meeting here. We request them to kindly stand at their place so that we can welcome them in our assembly here. Quite a good number. Thank you very much for coming here. We pray to Radha Kunja Bihari that your coming here should be a start of auspicious beginning of your spiritual life. And we would like to thank all of you for coming here and sparing your time with us by loudly chanting 3 times in our traditional way. Haribo! 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 You may kindly sit down.